The New York Knicks are off to one of the best starts in franchise history. But if they want to put a banner in the rafters at Madison Square Garden, they must fix this. We're going to break that down coming up in a second. But first, I want to hear from you. What is your biggest concern for the New York Knicks right now? What is holding you up from believing that this team can win the East and get to the NBA Finals? Sound off in the comments. You're watching Knicks Now by Chat Sports. I am your host, Marshall Green. Appreciate everybody for stopping by. If you're like me, you're itching for New York Knicks basketball to get back, and it's right around the corner. I'm ready for this game on Thursday, and then ready for the tough stretch that they have coming up with the Celtics and the Cavs. Two real tests to see where this Knicks team sits. And we know the New York Knicks defense has struggled at times. That's not the thing that I'm talking about when I say, though, they must fix this. They do need to improve, though, as a defensive team, and more specifically, a team that when it comes to defending the perimeter. Right now, the New York Knicks are the worst team in the NBA when it comes to three-point defense. And when you look at the other teams that are on this list with the Knicks, the Nets are going nowhere. The Pistons are going nowhere. The Hawks are tanking. The Kings are no good. And you got the New York Knicks. One of these teams, the Knicks, are not like the others. But I'll say this. If you allow a team in a series in the postseason to shoot 37.8% from three, you're going to go home pretty early. And we've seen when the New York Knicks have not been able to stack up against top teams in the NBA, like the Boston Celtics, like the Cleveland Cavaliers in one game, which I don't really like to say because it was on October 28th. The Knicks had the lead going into the fourth quarter. But I'll lean into the narrative out there. You haven't been able to beat Boston, you haven't been able to beat Cleveland, and you haven't been able to beat OKC. Well, in the first game of the season, you allowed the Celtics to shoot 29 of 61 from deep, 47.5%. You're never going to win a game if that happens. Against OKC, you allow them to shoot 52% from three, over 54 attempts, and this last game against Boston without OG Anunoby, you allow them again to shoot 48.7% from three. I honestly do believe, though, down the stretch and into the postseason, where film becomes a more crucial part of game planning, and there's more opportunities for teams to deploy a game plan and have actual practice opportunities, I think the New York Knicks are going to tighten up on the defensive end. I think they are going to improve. Maybe go from the worst three-point defense in the league to like the third worst or the fourth worst. Or the fifth worst. And then can you put together a month of basketball where you're flying around and you're playing good defense on the perimeter? The thing the Knicks must fix, though, is their own three-point shot. They need to get back to putting up more shots from downtown. Right now, the New York Knicks have strayed away from what really got them to being one of the best teams in the NBA before January 1st of 2025. Right now, the New York Knicks are shooting 30.7 three-pointers per game since the start of the new year. Since January 1st, 2025, the Knicks are the dead last team in the NBA when it comes to throwing up threes. Just 30.7. That is 7 threes less than what they were doing the entire year. For the entire season, the Knicks are shooting 37.6 threes in a game. That's 27th in the NBA. To go all the way down from 30 in 2025 is a pretty steep fall off. And what's crazy is the Knicks are actually really efficient from downtown. They should be taking a heck of a lot more threes. The Knicks right now make 12.8 threes per game, 19th most in the NBA. So you shoot the third least, but you make the 19th most. And the Knicks are top 10 in three-point percentage. You just need to up the ante. You need to up that number. Because in the playoffs, against a team like Boston, if you can't defend the perimeter and you're letting them shoot 20 more threes than you in a game, you are fighting an uphill battle. Remember this stat right here. 12.8 threes per game on average is what they make. When the Knicks make 12 plus threes in a game, when they make 12 plus, they are 25-5. So when they do what they do on an average scale, they are almost unbeatable. You make 12 plus threes, you're 12-5. You make 13 plus threes, you're 22-5. You make 14 plus threes, you're 19-5. And if you go crazy and make 15 plus threes, you're 17-4. You need to continue to get the shots up because the analytics and data tell you when you get to this benchmark, your team is almost unbeatable. Shout out to Jonathan Macri of Knicks Film School. He wrote this: when Jalen Brunson is on the court, the New York Knicks take 6.3% fewer threes than when he sits, which is the 4th percentile league-wide, meaning it is one of the worst volume three-point shooting offenses when Jalen Brunson is out there, which is a little bit intriguing because when you look at the players that play alongside Jalen Brunson the most, it's Mikal Bridges, it's Josh Hart, it's OG Anunoby, and it's Karl Anthony Towns. Bridges in a down year is still shooting 36% from three. Josh Hart's three-point percentage has gone down to 33.7. He's been awful in 2025 from three there. OG at 37 and Cat at 44. But look at the three-pointers attempted per game. Mikal at just 6.4. Hart at 3.3. And Anunoby at 5.8. And Karl Anthony Towns at 5.0. The Knicks don't really have any volume three-point shooters. And the numbers tell you the Knicks offense, when it comes to getting up threes in a hurry, is best when it's Cam Payne and Miles McBride. And that's just because Cam Payne loves that wing three in transition. I know this is a completely different stat, has nothing to do with what we just showed you. But I need Jalen Brunson to be better from deep in the playoffs this year. He's been awesome when it comes to scoring the basketball. He's been awesome when it comes to being a leader and being a captain and helping the Knicks win playoff games. But he is too skilled of a shooter, and he's too efficient of a player. And when you factor in the IQ, he cannot shoot 32.5% from three like he did 2 years ago. And he can't shoot 31% from three like he did last year in the playoffs. Completely different stats we were talking about, but I just thought about this while I was scripting the show. A key for the Knicks to have playoff success this year, like we want them to have and like we think they can, the captain's got to be much better from downtown. Overall, the Knicks, when they take threes, they make them. They're knocking them in at a 37.6% clip. I said in an earlier part of the show, they're top 10. I sold them. I sold them short. They are top 5 in the NBA. How on earth do you have the 5th best three-point percentage in the NBA, but you shoot the 27th most? The 3rd least in the NBA. It makes no sense. It's 2025. You have to get up more threes. And in the playoffs, if you don't, you're going to be wishing you would while you're watching these other teams dance in the conference finals and potentially the NBA finals. I've got more thoughts on this coming up in a second, but we're rolling out our New York Knicks Real One t-shirts again for the postseason run. You can get your blue one or you can get the newer black one. Just go to chatsports.com/realknicks. That's chatsports.com/realknicks. Get your t-shirt today, and when it shows up, take a picture of you rocking the Real One swag and send it to me on Twitter at @MarshallGreen_, and we'll put it on the show. My overall take of the New York Knicks and how they sit right now and why I believe they need to up the ante when it comes to shooting more threes. When the Knicks decided to make the trade for Karl Anthony Towns, they knew going into this season, if they were going to win the NBA championship, if they were going to win the Eastern Conference, they were going to have to do it because they were the best offense in the NBA. When you make the trade for Mikal Bridges and you bring back OG Anunoby, that told me you were trying to improve the defense. But when you trade for Cat, who is known as someone that doesn't get it done at an elite level on defense, he can get targeted in the pick and roll in late in games, you said to yourself, we are going to win games on the offensive end with pace, with space, playing 5 out, and trying to be an offensive juggernaut. And by the numbers, you have been an offensive juggernaut this year. When it comes to offensive rating for the 2024 and 2025 season, the New York Knicks are number 2 in the NBA, meaning per 100 possessions, they average 119.9 points per game, the second best of anybody in the NBA. Imagine if you shot like the 20th most threes or the 15th most threes. Dare I say top 10. You got to get those numbers up from deep. You have to lean in to who you are. You've got a 5-out offense. You have 5 guys that can make threes. I know Josh Hart is a little bit spotty. When that shot clock's bleeding and the play clock and the game clock are low, I trust him just as much as anybody, especially in a big-time moment on a big-time stage. You got to find a way to generate more threes. Because when you generate more threes in the Knicks offense, where it doesn't really feature a lot of pull-up threes or off-the-bounce threes, your assists are only going to go up. And when the New York Knicks swing the rock, when they play an unselfish brand of basketball, when they dish and when they swish, they are just as good as anybody. When they reach 30 assists, they are 20-2 on the year. When they make 29, or when they have 29 assists in a game or more, they are 23-3. And when you get to 28 assists, you are 25-3. When you make more threes in this Knicks offense, the assists are only going to go up. They have to understand that you have to outscore teams if you're the New York Knicks. You're not necessarily going to win, I think, at the playoffs holding teams to 91 points, 95 points, holding them to under 100. If you do, you can win those games. But you're going to have to do it on the offensive end. You have to be elite. You have to be a juggernaut. That is how the New York Knicks win the championship. And it starts by getting up more threes. You don't want to be the last team in the NBA when it comes to three-pointers attempted in the game. It's 2025. Get with the program. I do think Tibbs, as I asked this question, I think Tom Thibodeau can take it up on defense a notch in the playoffs. When it comes to game planning, I think he's one of the best in the business. When it comes to finding out another team's weakness, the opposing team's weakness, he is just as good as anybody. And I love the idea of my New York Knicks sitting in a film room and hanging out with Tom Thibodeau for hours on end, getting ready for a playoff series. The defense hasn't been what it should be this year. The offense has exceeded all expectations. Can Tibbs do his part as a coach, as a teacher, and as once a defensive mastermind, get them back in a spot to where they can get timely stops and just enough stops to win the game? And you got to improve mainly as a three-point defense. You're going to have to beat the Boston Celtics to win the NBA Finals this year. It's going to have to happen. And right now, in 2 games, the Celtics are 48 of 100 from downtown. You can't have the Boston Celtics outshoot you from 3 by 15 to 20 attempts, and then you don't even guard the 3. You will never, ever, 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 ever beat the Boston Celtics if you allow them to shoot 48% from 3 on 100 attempts, and in those 2 games, you're at 60 attempts. It's a math problem. It is simply just a math problem. They're one of the best in the league offensively, one of the best three-point shooting teams. They have 7 guys that can hit shots from anywhere on the floor. They move the ball beautifully. You have to find a way to slow them down on defense when it comes to defending the perimeter. If you don't, you're cooked. And if you don't, and you don't up your total of 3 shots in a game, you're going to go home very, very quickly. What's your confidence level in the Knicks winning the Eastern Conference this year? Scale it from 1 to 10. 1 being you're not confident. 10, you got the most confidence in the world. Sound off for me down below. And make sure you are following me over on social media. I'm on Instagram at @MarshallGreen_. I'm on Twitter at @MarshallGreen_. We're back live on the channel Thursday. I think it's Thursday, Saturday, Sunday, or Thursday, Friday, Sunday. Thursday, Friday, Sunday. Bulls, Cavs, Celtics, some sort of order. We'll see how real they are. Let's go, Knicks.